Hi, I'm State Treasurer Dennis Milligan.
And I'm Nate Coulter, Executive Director of the Central Arkansas Library System.
Thanks for joining us for our 4-week financial education series, a partnership between your State Treasurer's Office and the state's largest library system.
We've teamed up to bring you 4 presentations about financial education. We're honored to have some local experts join us to provide these sessions, which will cover a wide range of topics.
That's right, Nate. We'll start with understanding the basics, learning how to develop a budget, then move on to managing debt, saving for education, and saving money for your yearly taxes.
But it doesn't stop there. We'll also look at how making plans now can help you later with some of life's major changes, like marriage or divorce, dealing with an illness, or the sudden loss of a loved one, to caring for an elderly parent. There's a lot to consider.
There is. In the end, we hope these sessions inspire you to take control of your finances, no matter what your economic situation is.
And we hope these sessions and our presenters educate and encourage you to keep learning, no matter your age.
Thank you for joining us. Let's get started.
Let's go.
That was Nate Coulter, the Executive Director of the Central Arkansas Library System, and Treasurer of State Dennis Milligan, welcoming everybody to our series of financial literacy programs. Thanks for joining us tonight. I'm Mark Christ. I'm the head of adult programming for the Central Arkansas Library System, and I'll be moderating tonight's session, Basics of Budgets and Saving, which will be presented by Katherine Jones of the Orion Federal Credit Union. Oh, pardon me. So before I give it to, hand the mic over to Katherine, there's a few housekeeping items. Everyone's going to be muted during this presentation, except the presenter. But you can enter your questions into the chat box, and we'll answer those at the end of the program. Also, tonight's session will be recorded, and in a few days, it'll be available both on the CAL's YouTube channel and the Treasurer of State's website. So with that, I will introduce Katherine Jones. She is the Business Development Officer for Orion Federal Credit Union, representing the Little Rock area. Orion was founded in 1957. It's a full-service financial institution offering checking, savings, credit cards, home and auto loans, and more. Orion expanded to Little Rock from Memphis in 2018 and strives to be a true community partner, giving back and sharing profits with members of the community for more than 60 years. Orion is located in downtown Little Rock at 3rd and Cross near Capitol. And with that, Katherine, take it away.
Hi, everybody. Good to see you virtually. I wish I was in person. So I'm going to try to share my screen here. Let's see. Okay. Mark, is that working? Okay, great. All right. So we are here to talk about budgeting and savings. These are pretty basic things, but I think that everyone always needs a good reminder of some good practical skills to use and a refresher, and just to pick up and make sure that you're on track with your budget and kind of your goals for financial independence. And I really tried today to get some practical everyday tips that I hope will help you assess kind of where you are, and then also where you want to be, and talk about financial goals and financial independence, no matter what your starting point is. So before we get started, I was going to tell y'all a little bit about Orion. Sorry, let me make sure I know how to. Yes, here we go. Orion was so this is our branch near the Capitol. If you've passed it, we are at 3rd and Cross. You might have seen our new updated construction. So today it's this really cool modern building. It just opened this week for the lobbies again. So come visit. We're very excited about that. But Orion actually got started in Memphis with $300 and a piano bench in the basement of a high school. It was 1957, and there were a few teachers who had a problem. They had some money, and they were not sure what to do with it. They weren't sure who they could trust and where they could put it and what bank they should use, but they knew that they could trust each other. And so they found the safest place they could find, which was this piano bench in the basement of the high school where they worked. They put it in there and they loaned it out to each other, saved, helped each other buy cars and houses. And this grew and grew, and more teachers got involved and more schools got involved. And eventually this grew to be the Memphis Area Teachers Credit Union. So that was the original start of what's now Orion. Of course, now it is not just teachers and it's not just Memphis, and we've expanded to many members all over the country, including, and we have a new branch in Little Rock, but that's really our heart and soul. We still have that piano bench in Memphis at our headquarters, and we really know how hard our members work for their money, and that they need a financial institution they can trust that will meet them where they are for their financial needs, whatever that may be. And today we offer, a much more robust set of services and auto loans and home loans and credit cards and anything you would want from a financial institution. So yeah, but we really strive to keep that close to heart and meet you where you are in your financial journey. So that is where we're coming from. We're really glad to get connected with CALS in this area and with the Arkansas Treasurer and be part of this opportunity. So budgeting and saving your way to financial independence. I think, our vision is to be the leading source of financial independence in the communities we serve. And financial independence is a buzzword that I think doesn't mean much if you don't think about it. It's something that gets thrown around a lot. But to me, I think, importantly, I think that if you have been in classes like this thinking like, I don't know how to save $5 and still be able to pay my bills at the end of the month, like you really feel trapped by your financial situation. A lot of people feel like that. I grew up feeling that way. I certainly know how that feels. It can feel really disheartening. And the idea of being financially independent can be really distant. So I want to acknowledge that. But today I really want us to be honest with where we are, but also hopeful about where you can be and thinking about what financial independence would mean to you, and how budgeting and savings are goals to get you there, right? These are practical skills to get you to whatever being financially independent means to you. For me, that was having a car that would not break down on the side of the road. That was my goal. I grew up with a bunch of cars that my dad got from junkyards and fixed up, and they would break down sometimes or wouldn't start in a parking lot. And I did not know what I wanted to do or how much money I needed to make or how my budget needed to go. But I knew that I wanted a car that I was not nervous to drive that could get me from point A to point B. That was my goal. Maybe yours is different. Maybe it's caring for family. Maybe it's saving for an education. But I think those are really important things to keep in mind. They make these things really practical and useful and not so tedious. So want to give us some practical starting points. These are also just things that I did to get started from that. You don't know what you don't know about figuring out how much money you need and how to budget and how to save until you learn those things. And if you don't see it modeled, that can be really hard. So these are just some practical things that I learned along the way that hopefully will help you too. So we're going to try to find some steps from point A to point B. And I know that everyone is a different place. And so, try to match this to where you are. This is something that I think about a lot. Start where you are, use what you have, do what you can. This is a great Arthur Ashe quote that I just think about a lot. I think it really applies to budgeting and not being disheartened with being honest with yourself about where you are in your budget, because I think it's really one of the most important things. If you're not realistic about how much money you're taking in every month and how much you need to be able to be meeting your goals and your needs, but also some of your hopes and dreams, you've got to have a realistic starting point. So to start with a very realistic base starting point, this is going to maybe sound silly, but I think it's really important. This is a tool that I think really helped me as I was getting started. We have to know our take-home pay. I know this is basic, stay with me. So this is something that I think a lot of people, is you're not just in the job you have now. I know you're looking at your paycheck and you know that your take-home pay versus your gross salary, how much you're supposed to make every month, is not the same. This changes from point A to point B at some point, right? But I think that knowing exactly what that dollar amount is, like, you don't want to budget money you don't have coming in. So this is really important to know, to look at your paycheck and know exactly what's coming in and calculate accordingly. We're going to talk about two really big numbers to get started. This is number one. So gross paycheck, hourly wage or salary. This is if you make $15 an hour over the course of 2 weeks full time, that's $1,200. But at the end of the day, your take-home net pay is that minus taxes. You don't want to calculate a budget based on money that you are not taking in that month. So I want to show you all this tool. I'll give it to myself so I didn't have to do that math. I was a little worried about that. It is $1,200. So I'm going to give you this tool that helped me a lot. This is an example. I don't know if anybody has used this before. This is something that I use when I still use it to calculate and set goalposts. And I show you this tool for two reasons. One, first of all, you can look at your paycheck and find out these numbers. I am not giving you examples of how many allowances you should take. I'm not a tax consultant. You should consult your employer about how you should do this. And this might, change depending on where you live or where you work. But I do this to really demonstrate the importance of getting that number right before you get started. So if we're budgeting, this is a critical number because you have to be real about what you're taking in. This can be a big difference, right? 958, if these things are all true for you, if this is biweekly and this is an estimate, 958 is not $1,200. So we need to budget accordingly. So this is a really important tool. I also show you this because I think that this tool has really helped me. Not only is it a practical way to look at where you are, but you can use it to define those goalposts we talked about, right? So if you're thinking like, well, what if I made $20 an hour? Or what if I made $30,000 a year? Or what if I made $50,000 a year? Or what if I made $100,000? Like you can, that also will change. That's not your actual take-home pay number. And setting realistic goals, it's important to know what that take-home number will be. That was really important to me. I would get jobs or see things and ads in the newspaper and think, oh, well, it pays this much money. But then at the end of the day, that wasn't enough to pay my rent because not all of that was hitting my pocket, right? So you can change this, you can edit it. You can edit this for whatever applies to you, but you can increase this to 25, increase this to however many hours you want to work. And this is a good way to think about, like, I need to take this much money in to reach my goals. So this is a Smart Asset Paycheck Calculator. You can look this up and save it and kind of tweak this for what's true for you about withholdings or whatever is true for your paycheck, and check on that. I think this is a really helpful thing to get a good starting point and know where you are and where you could go. So really important, know exactly how much money you're taking in every month. It's nice to know monthly, and we will talk about that too. Another way to do this, if you make a salary and you said you gross annual salary was X amount of money, you might get paid at different amounts, but you can calculate that this way, and your annual take-home pay that you can divide by 12, again, whatever is true for you, however many taxes are being taken out or withheld or whatever is true for you, calculate this accordingly. But this is a really different, this number can be very different than a number that you see advertised in a newspaper is making this. So for me, not knowing what that meant and not having really a model for that growing up, this kind of came as a shock to me. I know that if you've been in the workforce, you obviously know this, but I just think it's a really important reminder of, being realistic about setting goals for yourself and how, as we build goals and we build hopes and dreams about buying a car, buying a house, or saving for education, that where to set that goal and know where you're trying to go. So that is our big number, our take-home pay. And again, I want to think about that as both your current take-home pay, what you're doing right now, and then what you kind of want it to be, and just get your wheels turning on like what that could be and what that could mean if it were different things and if it changed. So then, of course, next, big number is your pay, and your second number is your fixed expenses. So simple starting points, really, like budgeting at its core is a simple like addition, subtraction. I know it gets more complicated as life gets added on, but at its core, a good place to start, your fixed expenses, these numbers that don't change every month, car insurance, phone and internet, childcare, loans and debts, and then the variable things like your water bill and your electric bill and your groceries that you have to pay every month. It might be different expenses. Trying to find a way to average that, finding a way to think, I know this is going to be higher in July and December. I need to account for that, or I know that my grocery bill is going to be higher maybe in the summer when my kids are home, or for a holiday or whatever that is. So again, being really honest with yourself too about how to meet yourself where you are and not kind of bite off more than you can chew if you're trying to cut these things too. Like what's going to really work for you? What's really going to be true for your lifestyle? So necessary expenses, necessities, also finding tools that work for you, that you can automate in your life, tools, if it's an app, if it's a budget worksheet, if you print something out, if you go to CALS or the treasurer, I'm sure there's so many resources that you can use, but it doesn't matter if it's old school written down on paper. It doesn't matter if it's an app or whatever it is. Whatever's going to work for you. If you know you're on your phone all the time, then get yourself an app and like send yourself notifications, right? To fill these things out or to make sure you track your bills. But to do what's right for you and what really is going to make you do it and make you remember to do this every month and figure out these expenses. So we've got our two big numbers, this big number of your necessary expenses that is maybe not going to change or be difficult to change, and your number of your take home pay. So again, this is easy to calculate, easiest to calculate monthly, I think, if you want to do that math of kind of an average of how much you're taking home every month. I think a monthly number is a really good idea to keep in mind. And from there, today, the budget, there are a million different budgets that people can talk about and that work for different people. This is a really like a starting point for a lot of people. And I think that the simpler the budget you make for yourself, the better. Some people really like to do a budget in an envelope system and get, put things into different envelopes and only spend for certain circumstances. I personally like this budget of 50, 30, 20, needs 50%. Those are those necessities we talked about. And then wants 30, needs 50%, wants 30%. So that's wants, I personally find that easier than a budget that breaks everything down into like entertainment, $20 this month, going out to eat, $50. Like, so that might work for some people. If that works for you, do your thing. I personally, my months change so much and I find it really hard to justify like which category is which. So I think a broad category for wants is fine, as long as you know, like, okay, I have this to spend on clothes and movies and, going out to eat or whatever, just, that that's what you have and that's your bucket for that. And you've already got your needs taken care of. And then 20% savings and debt repayment. So debt repayment doesn't mean in this situation, it doesn't mean your actual car loan or your bills or your things that you are accountable for. It means paying extra on that. So if you want to add extra to a credit card payment, extra to a student loan to try to get it paid off sooner and get yourself out of debt, that can count in that category. And just 20% of that is a good, just if you can do that, this is a really good, simple place to start. So making those calculations, again, it's easiest, I think, to do it monthly. So to really figure out how much you get every month and give yourself a number and think, and a tracker on your phone, a tracker in paper, however, these are your numbers for each category. So the beauty of this rule is simplicity. We're really imperfect and we tend to bail when things get really complicated. So giving yourself that's why giving myself a complicated budget system did not work. I was way too lazy to try to keep track of 50 categories and it just didn't work for me. I think that streamlining this for yourself and making it easy on you is a really important way of making that work. So it's something you have to do your whole life and you do not want to be doing something complicated every single day or every single paycheck. I think we're going to go into too. I do not know percentages off the top of my head. I work at a financial institution, but I do the marketing. So this is not something that comes supernaturally to me. So based on this, there are some really great calculators out here to simplify this for you. A 50, 30, 20 budget example. This is to the two examples that we talked about. So again, this is an example. Your actual take-home pay might differ. If this, look at your paycheck, figure out what this is for you. This is a really helpful tool, again, to play with and see what this could mean at different amounts. So these are your 50, 30, 20 numbers. So this is what you might be thinking about. And I think the challenge when you get here for a lot of people, your needs might exceed 50% of your income. Like, I think that's very true for a lot of people realistically. And I think that, thinking about both how you can minimize that if possible, how you can kind of think about ways to be creative about the ways that you do meet those needs or ways that you can change those things for yourself, and also thinking about your goalposts, thinking if this is, you know, really over my 50%, what is it, how can I, where do I need to be? What is my goalpost on this? If I took in this much, how much would this change this number? How much could I, you know, what is this really going to take for me to be able to achieve these things that I've been thinking about, that I've been wishing for, and turn that into a real number and put a number on it? I just think it's really helpful to put a number on those things, even if it's not your budget today. Again, we're being honest and also hopeful about things that we can do and ways that we can grow. And so I think that being honest about your budget today and your 50, 30, 20, and then thinking about what that could mean with a different number. So this is a second example with our other, your estimated monthly take-home pay. This one came out really clean, monthly after tax. This would be a really easy one to do, right? And so you have this number in your head and you can think of ways to kind of edge these categories out, right? What can you do and how can you save? I would say too, if this isn't realistic for you and your necessities are kind of exceeding these categories, or this isn't where you want it to be right now, I think that if you can just save anything, like if you can set aside, give yourself, if it's easier for you to say, I want to set aside $100 a month and this is easy for me, something is better than nothing. And if this is complicated, you know, that's certainly better than nothing, and it'll make you feel good about it. It'll give you a nice little reward and to feel good about at the end of the month, you have that. I think that is helpful. So starting with something small, if you literally put $5 in, you know, a jar somewhere, that's starting, that's a start, to start with savings, and just make sure really base level that you're meeting your needs before you divide up your wants and your savings piece. That's a start. I think this is a great way to kind of flesh this out in like a simple way that you can maintain, that you can kind of set a goal for. If you're not there, just get as close as you can. It's kind of the idea behind it. We are, you can't do this perfectly, try to find ways to get as close as you can for now. So this is a great goal, savings and debt repayment, needs and wants, to just feel financial independence, which is what we talked about. And I know they say that, you know, money can't buy happiness, but it can certainly buy comfort. And I think that if you've grown up without a reliable car, you know exactly how that feels. There's, you know, a comfort in being able to be independent enough to get those things for yourself, or to support a family member, or to do these things that, you know, I think you absolutely can do and can set up for yourself in your life. And budgeting and savings and trying to make this happen, even if it's small and like slow steps along the way. These are really great. These are just good fundamentals to have, whether you're, no matter where you are, whether you're close to a goal that you want to be at, or you're just getting started. They're always critical steps. And I think this is a really helpful way to just try to get close, have a framework, have something that you're aiming for. So, Mark, are there any questions? I can't see anything, and I know I've been talking for a long time. Is there anything out there?
Helps if I unmute. We do have a question. When it comes to the savings part of 50, 30, 20, how much should we save per paycheck percentage wise? 10%, 20%? Yeah,
that's a good question. Easiest way to answer that, per paycheck percentage wise. It's hard because your bills come monthly, and I get paid every 2 weeks. I know this can be really complicated. The easiest way that I find to do it is to think about, I really try to think about everything monthly. I know that that's hard to think about when it comes in, but try to, from a broad perspective, and maybe you go back from that. If you make X amount every 2 weeks, you know, multiply that number by 26, like the number of pay periods in a year, and divide that by 12, number of months in a year, and then you've got your monthly number. And I would think about it that way. Try to think, and then you kind of can deal with those as a whole, as far as your budget category of, this is how much I take in every month, and this is how much I need to spend every month on my needs. I would really try to get it to a point for yourself that you're doing it as a monthly number. And then you can break it down from there, I would say, into how to categorize this into how much that means per paycheck for you. Because I know the numbers can get messy, but I think starting with a monthly is really the easiest way to do it versus per paycheck, unless you get paid every month. I don't, for me, I can't really figure out a way to make the math work unless I do it monthly. So that's what I would encourage.
Okay. Another question, if I have a lot of, and actually this is one that I was similar to something I was going to ask you. If I have a lot of credit card debt, is it better to try and pay those down before I start trying to put money aside in savings, or should I try to do both?
Great question. I think it depends on the interest rates on your credit cards, for one thing. And some people, I think the two big debt repayment tools would be a snowball method where you do the smallest debt first, pay it off and grow from there. Or some people think of the avalanche method where you do the one with the highest interest rate, pay that off first more aggressively and go from there. I think that if you have a lot of overwhelming credit card debt, I think cutting down your wants category as much as you can within reason is a good place to start, and putting as much of that past your needs into this savings and debt repayment. So I think that's a good, if you can put yourself, $1,000 is a place that some people start in savings, or ideally 3 months of income. So how much you make in 3 months, if something like, a global pandemic were to happen and you were to lose your job, that's the real goal for savings. I do think that even if you do have a lot of credit card debt, I know it can be really hard to find a starting place. This is, my parents run this place my whole life. I really totally understand this. I think having that savings in your back pocket, even as this debt is sort of happening on the side, if you can at least save that 3 months or $1,000 and try to be working on that first, I think that's a really good, and paying off your credit card just as much as you can on the side until you get that savings built up. But then I think if you want to more aggressively pay off those debts with the highest interest rates and put maybe a little less in savings because you have given yourself a little bit of a cushion, I think that can be a really smart move because it'll build up forever. I mean, that interest and will compound and build up forever, and it will be so impossible to get out of. And it feels very, very, you can feel very trapped by that. So I think that I would say the $1,000 in the 3 months is a great cushion. That's such a comfort to have. And then you're not a flat tire away from, like just going worse into debt or doing something, it just perpetuates the cycle. So that would be my suggestion. I think after you've got those things set up, you can move more aggressively into debt repayment, and starting with the highest interest rate, I think, is a good idea because it really will build up over time, and that'll get you in the long run. So.
And there's actually a follow-up question on that. Is it a good thing to try and consolidate my debt?
Oh, excellent question. Hard answer. Sometimes. Yeah, sometimes that can be a good idea. I think it depends on the types of debts that you have and the way that you're trying to consolidate it. If you have a really, really predatory kind of high interest rate and there's an option to consolidate it to a lower one, I think that would be your consideration. I think that having different types of debt is not necessarily, if you can make the payments on each of them, then and the interest rates are not, it just depends on the interest rates. I hate to give like a blanket answer, and it would just so depend on the situation of if you have a horrible interest rate and you have opportunities to consolidate that lower, again, that will get you forever. That is what buries people and is so hard to get out of. So I think it's certainly an option to look into, and to consult with someone, a financial counselor who is more invested in your personal situation. But yeah, if there are debt consolidation options that lower your interest rate and are not going to keep you in that cycle, then I think that can certainly be an option for people.
Do you know about, is there a agency or a place where folks could go to get that kind of advice if they, can't really afford to have a financial advisor?
Yeah, I am trying to think of the same thing, and I don't know off the top of my head. I wish I did. I would tell you, because that really is such a specific piece of advice to get. Um, I know, and it depends. I consolidated my student loans, I know, and got a lower interest rate on those, but there just are pros and cons to each situation. I don't know, but I will find out and I will send it out for you and see if we can find a resource for that that's accessible. And see, because it would depend on, you would want some guidance on that before jumping into that, I think.
Okay, great. Let's see here. I don't see any other questions coming up in the chat. Do you have anything you would like to add? Any further advice?
Yeah, I think I've got a couple more just real basic. So the end of it, that was kind of the overview of what your budget structure could be, some simple ways to do this. And the last part of it is just kind of some encouragement and overview. So we'll go over that. Oops, I'm pushing the wrong screen. Okay, so all this being said, 50, 30, 20, the two big savings things that I talked about, having either, like I said, I think 50, 30, 20 is a really good goal if you have that under control and you can kind of work that out monthly. Like I said, that savings piece and the debt savings and how to weigh that out. Whatever it is you decide that's right for you and what's going to make you feel the most comfortable that you're in a place that you can grow and you can do these things and feel financially independent, whether that's getting out of debt or saving, giving yourself a savings cushion. I think automating any and all of those things as you possibly can is so easy in 2021, and you should do all of them, as many of them as possible. We are such imperfect creatures that love to treat ourselves. I love to treat myself. I am like in the TJ Maxx line, like who buys the stuff by the cash register? Like me, I buy all that stuff. I buy the candy, I buy all of it if left to my own devices. So I really try not to have that money in my pocket because I will. And I think most people are like that. So give yourself, I try to only have the money in my account every month that I am allowed to spend. I try to funnel those less fun things like my needs and my savings and my debt. And if I'm trying to do extra debt repayment on my student loans because I want to get them over with or whatever, or credit card payments or whatever it is, I funnel that and that is it goes out. I do not see it. I do not feel it. I think I once got like a raise that added X amount to my paycheck, like $50 or something. And before it even hit, I can't believe I did this. It's a very responsible move that I made is not that common for me either, but I automated it immediately before it even hit my paycheck. I went to my student loan account and changed that auto payment to be $50 higher. So it went up and I never saw the money and I never felt that impact. I think that's a really, really just protecting yourself from yourself in those ways. One big thing that I know every financial institution will never stop pitching to y'all is a really basic checking and savings account with direct deposit from your paycheck. If this isn't something you have and something you're not comfortable with, or for whatever reason, like it is so easy. It is so convenient to have this, to have your money protected in the bank. You can access it, or credit union, you can access it anytime at the ATM. You can always know your balance through the app. You always know how much money you have. You can transfer funds through the app or through online banking. You can visit the branch. You can go to the drive-through, go to the ATM. But your money hits your paycheck the day you get paid. You don't have to wait in line to get a check cash, and you don't have to pay a check cashing place any piece of your income to cash that check. They charge like 3%, 10%, whatever it is. Like, I don't want to give Kroger and Walmart my money to cash my check. Like, no, I do not want to do that. You work hard for your money and you should have it deposited to your account as soon as you get it and you have access to it. That counts for stimulus money and tax returns too. If you have direct deposit, those come into your account right away, earlier than they come in a physical check. So I know a lot of people still don't have this set up. And I just really encourage you, that's a great first step in automating your life, is to direct deposit your paycheck. We have a free checking account at Orion, and we also have a checking 2.0 account for people who maybe have had a rough financial history and haven't qualified for other checking accounts in the past. we really try to have products available for people that will help you kind of build that back or build credit or build kind of a new future for yourself financially. Or if you have a financial institution you trust, go with them. We'd love to see you, whatever it is. Direct deposit and just a very basic checking savings account is just such an easy way to automate that. So that's my pitch for direct deposit and bank accounts. And preparing, like I said, for what you'll do with windfalls like tax returns or extra money. Like with that raise I got, whatever it is, your tax return, that can just have an idea of what you're going to do with that before you get it, before you're like, oh my God, I got this extra hundreds of dollars this April. This is amazing. Like, think about, I have always wanted to fix this on my car. I've always wanted to do this for my mom. I've always wanted to do this thing that, like, whatever it is, go to whatever it is for yourself. I've always wanted to repay this credit card or put this toward it. Automate it, know that you're doing it that day, just immediately do that for yourself. So prepare for that and make your budget habits as easy as possible. Easy as possible. Like, just do not make this hard for yourself or you won't do it. I am terrible at that. I will not do it if I don't automate it. And I try to send all my money to all the accounts they need to go to, savings, checking, before it ever hits my pocket to go to the TJ Maxx line. So 4 final little steps to think about. Start where you are, find real numbers. Again, back to our basic take-home pay, but it's so important to budget with exactly where you are, know exactly how much money you are taking in, and get that monthly dollar amount in your head and really put a number on that, and be honest with yourself about it. Number 2, set goals along the way. If that's not where you want to be, and I know I went to many a workshop like this with my parents, and like, well, I don't have any money to manage. Why am I even here? Like, but you've got to have a goal. If you don't know where you are and you don't have a number on where you want to be, like mine was the reliable car, and I had to put a number on that. I was like, okay, I have to do this in order to make this payment. If I want to pay this rent payment, that's what I need to do. So I think that this can be really discouraging, especially if you do have a lot of debt, or if you feel like you cannot ever get out of this. But just set goals for yourself. You've got to start somewhere and have a goalpost, and just really be working toward it. And even if you're saving, $5 or whatever, it's something, and automating something for yourself, and just really celebrating those small wins, and think about those small steps you can take to get there. And even if that's literally walking into the branch at downtown or your bank branch or whatever and saying, is it a good idea to consolidate debt? Is it, whatever these questions you have? Sometimes getting a question answered is a first step, and it gets your wheels turning. So think about those first steps that you can take and what those big goals are for yourself, and try to put numbers on things. If it's a car or whatever, that you can budget and save for the future. Calculate a simple budget, current income expenses, start at realistic place, includes needs, wants, and savings. And then automate and track progress. So give yourself easy ways to track goals that you'll see, automate as much as possible, and set yourself up for success. So talked about that, really cannot talk about it more. I think that the more you see about budgeting and people who are really good at it, it's because they take themselves completely out of it and they automate this completely. And luckily we have so many tools to do that, and resources. And like I said, I know that I'm happy to help personally if you would like some personal guidance on that. And I can, if I don't know, I'll refer you to a better source that does. Or I know that Cal's and the Treasurer have a lot of great resources as well. So whatever it is, however small you're starting, whatever question you have that you just don't know, you don't know what you don't know about it. And we just really want to be here to be a resource for you. This is a really fundamental first step in savings and in building that financial independence, which really, again, translates to things that a life that you really want to live, and a car that doesn't break down, or a house that you feel comfortable in, or whatever it is for you. I think that those things can really translate to a great quality of life. And so we really want to be here for you and meet you where you are, and be here as you kind of get the fundamentals down and keep growing along the way.
All right. Thanks, Catherine. Now we do have a couple more questions that have come in the chat.
Yeah.
Can you alter the amount that you save based on what you make? For example, what if 50% of your monthly income doesn't cover all the basic needs?
If 50% of your monthly income does, yes. So 50, 30, 20, right. Yes. And I wrote about that because I know exactly what you mean. I think I did this. So I think that like I said, to get as close to that as you can. And again, it might not be percentages. I think that if for you, that means starting with the savings account of $1,000 or 3 months of what you make every month, that's a really good starting point that just is a cushion you can build from. If that is literally your only starting point that you can do, I think that, you know, that it is really just a good comfort for you. If also, it isn't a, you know, I'm not a career development coach. This isn't what I'm here for today, but I think that as I was doing this along the way and trying to figure out, answer the same kinds of questions and think like, how do people ever get out of this? Like, I don't understand how I'm ever going to buy a car. I don't understand how I'm ever going to buy a house. I don't know how these things even will be possible for me. I think that I used that smart asset paycheck calculator to really calculate, like, I don't know, and this is a non-answer, and I know, and I'm sorry, and I wish I could address this specific situation, but I think plugging it in, like, what would meet my basic needs? What is this number I need to have that would meet these basic needs for me? And how can I get there? And then I would just look at job postings and think like, okay, well, I guess if I had this skill, I could make this job that made this much money. I don't really know what I want to do. I don't really know what I want to be. But I think really putting a number on that is, as a goalpost, setting a goal is a step. Like, that's a great step. If that's what you leave with and that's what you're thinking, like, I don't have any money to budget, then I think that's a good thing to think about. Yeah, I think it gives you a really good sense of accomplishment and fulfillment to have $1,000 in savings. It feels like a whole lot to a lot of people. And so I think that's a good place to start. If you can build toward that and just really try to build toward that, that's a great start for a lot of people. So.
Okay. Next question is, do you have a budgeting app that you recommend?
Yeah, sure. I personally use the Buddy app because I wanted to split it with my husband and figure out how much we each spend. So that is the one that I use. A lot of banks or credit unions have budgeting within their online banking app. I think that can be really helpful. I have used Mint. I have used a couple different ones. There are some from Dave Ramsey has some really good ones, some really good, like, simple free apps that you can use. They're probably all a little different, but there's a lot of really great free apps. I personally do the Buddy app and really like it. And I would recommend using your bank app too, if you are able to do that and to try to see that money in real time and what's in your account and kind of how that cash flow is going in and out. That can be really helpful too.
All right, and let's see. Well, a follow up. Which is the best app?
Which is the best app? I don't know. I like I said, I personally use the Buddy app. That is my favorite. Let me.
Is that free? That there was a follow up to the question. What is the best app that's free?
Excellent question, and I'm trying to find the name of this. Okay, there is. The Dave Ramsey app is called Every Dollar. I think that would be a helpful, good place to start. I've heard a lot of good things about that one. That's a really good, I think a lot of people use that one. I've heard that often. So Every Dollar, this is free. Mint is a free one. Those are the two that I have personally used. Mint, that's a great one. I'm trying to see if the one I have is free, and that is what I'm trying to look at. And I honestly don't know. I think I might have paid like $3 for it, but I think the free app, if you're going to do Every Dollar, that's a great place to start. That's my recommendation.
Okay. And if a viewer wants to email you or call you with more questions, will it cost anything to do that?
Yes, yeah, right here. And like I said, we're in downtown at 3rd and Cross. I would love to answer any questions. And like, these situations are easier to do if it's a personal question about your finances and you want to sit down and like get started with this. Love to help, happy to do that. If it is something that you need some more specific advice about, like which checking account might be right for you, again, great first step to just walk into the branch or give them a call and say, hey, I need a savings account. Will you help me find which one is best for me? excellent first step. We'd love to help. And I would love to talk to anybody or answer questions. I mean, you can reach me right here and visit our branch and reach out to us. And we are back open this week.
All right. I don't see any more questions. Oh, wait a minute. Did you mention the Buddy app, which I believe you did?
Yes, the Buddy app is the one I use. And like I said, I don't want to steer you wrong because I do think I really personally wanted one to share with my husband. I found it really difficult. Sorry, there's a car outside my house, but found it really hard to budget the same budget together without seeing what we did every month. And I will tell you too, if you find this tedious and time consuming and you're annoyed by tracking your expenses and trying to figure this out, it is tedious and time consuming. You're not doing it wrong. That is what it is. It drives you insane to have to track this but it is a constant in life. And the closer you are to it and the less afraid you let yourself be of where you are, even if it's not where you want to be. I think having an app is a really good way to give yourself that accountability and be like, I know what's going on. I know how much money I have. I know where it's going. So I think that can be a real comfort. I really would encourage you to, it is a scary, uncomfortable thing, but I think that it is so important. And knowing how to budget your money, whether you have $1,000 or $1 million, is always, always, always important. I mean, just it is such a fundamental thing. So yeah.
All right. Now we're getting thank yous. So I guess
Okay.
we're in a good space. Katherine,
Great.
thank you so much for sharing this information with us. And for everyone for attending tonight's program. And I wanted to mention that at the conclusion of our 4-week series, we'll have special grab and go bags available for participants to pick up at designated Central Arkansas Library System libraries. The bags will contain relevant information from all 4 of our presenting groups, and we'll have more details about this during our last session on May 11. So everybody be sure and come back next at 6:30 next Tuesday night when we will have Strong Tower Wealth Management speaking on basics of financial planning, and we'll wrap up on May 11th with planning for major life changes with the Wilson Estate Planning Group. So Katherine, thank you again so much. I wish I had heard your presentation about 40 years ago. I think I would have had an easier life along there. And everyone have a great night.